different.
Right, I agree. Another thing that I noticed about 50 West Broadway, did you get that big folder?
Yes.
And then something I really liked, because I feel like this is a very common question, like what's around here? It had like a little insert that said like all the shops, all the good restaurants, everything like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
We don't have to do that.
Oh, we actually
It's a
do.
good thing.
You could use the
Well, I
same.
would want to put it on our website, those things like that.
But I think you're right. I mean, I think I mean, yeah, you might have to expand your circle a little bit further, so it's not like what's walking distance to Howard Point, you know, corporate office, but you could, the hotel. I mean, you could expand it to maybe, you know, Lambert's, Castle Island. I mean,
You have the beaches, you have West Island, the Shaws, the hotel, the restaurant, and the hotel. Can anyone go into UMass and use that cafeteria?
I think so.
There you go.
yeah, I don't know if you want to, you could.
We don't know, we're not saying it's fine.
The JFK Library is supposed to have that.
JFK has a cafeteria, and you can just, I said to walk, you do not have to enter the library. Just go in and you go right to the cafeteria. They have, you know, it's a small menu, but the food's very good, it's very cheap, there's no tax on it.
I've
so-
never knew this one.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheap, you got the St. John's convenience store.
It's every day it's a different price, right?
That
So,
one
that's
exactly $20.
right. The next day might be $19.95.
No, the 79.
Yeah.
This isn't far behind, so.
All right, guys. Well, sorry we're late. It's actually my fault. I went through South Boston and I thought I could get onto Mass Pike East through South Boston, and there's no turn there. So I was stuck going west to Alston, Brighton, and I had to go all the way back. So, but we did leave enough time. But unfortunately, it took a bad turn. You take a turn in Boston, you're in trouble. So I'm glad that everyone had a good and bad experiences about shopping. My experience, and I think I missed some of your reports on shopping, it wasn't great. I went to Lincoln Heights and I went to can't remember the name of it now, but Faxon Park. It's in Quincy. And my experience with both shoppers actually was not great. I felt like I was being put out, which, you know, is kind of interesting because, you know, they're there for a job, you know, and they're going to be leasing apartments, and they're going to make money off of me. But you know, I felt like they had better things to do rather than showing me around. So that's kind of my experience. My good experience was I kind of liked the brochures that they had. They just had this kind of one little card with information on it, and it was great. So that's kind of the direction that we're going in, which is great. That we kind of stay on top of that stuff. So what I kind of want to do is go through the quick agenda of what our plan is for today. Obviously, shopping comps is going to be one of them. Kennedy's going to go through, you know, the prospect follow-up procedure. So I know we've been through a lot of this stuff before, but what Ryan had mentioned the other day is, you know, we're not really trying to roll out, and I thought this is really good, we're not really trying to roll out a policy. What we're trying to do is kind of stick with the current policy and just kind of do reminders and refreshers of what was, you know, the expectations of what our policies are based on our quick steps that Kennedy spends all his time writing. So we're just kind of going to go through, do some refreshers of some of these things. One of them is going to be the prospect follow-ups. I've got this neat little exercise about best practices for follow-up. It's kind of a good leasing best and best leasing consultant on kind of follow-up. And I have some interesting statistics on our current properties on responding to leads, and also on competitors' properties responding to leads at the end of that, so that's going to be fun. Reputation management survey, Angelica's going to go through and basically she's going to take a look at what we're doing on our kind of what our policy is for quick steps. Go through that. It's not rolling out anything new, it's just, you know, kind of refreshing what we already currently know. She's going to provide results for each property. We're going to kind of scroll through that briefly, show that we are tracking the results. We're trying to measure our reputation management, make sure we're staying on top of it. And mostly everybody is, which is great. CJ Connects. Just going to go briefly over a couple kind of tips and tricks on CJ Connects. And Ryan's going to talk a little bit about that, and also some policy updates. So I know we had some questions that kind of everyone gave their input on, and based on all the input that you gave us, Ryan had kind of gone together, we took a look at that, and he's got some new policies based on first month's rent and stuff like that that you guys had questions on. And then some homework, and Ryan will touch on that too a little bit when it comes down to it.
this is basically like a schedule of what we expect for follow-up, when follow-up should happen. Under the first section, follow-up process, number 2, you've got A through G of when we're doing our follow-ups. You know, if Deb's getting a follow-up by a robot every single day after visiting the property, that's not exactly something that we think that our prospects would appreciate. We don't want to be bombarding them and stuff like that. So I think that we've kind of all settled on this kind of within the same day, and then the next day, and after that, 3 days a week, 15 days a month. And then the kind of special Ryan's little project is the 11-month follow-up, which I think is a really cool idea. So has anybody actually given the 11-month follow-up a try at all?
No, we rolled it up today.
Right, but you can still try to reach back to old ones, and I wasn't sure. So the idea behind the 11-month follow-up is that you had prospects looking 11 months ago. They didn't choose you, they moved somewhere else, but their lease is going to be expiring at that place around this time. So now would be the time to try to follow up with them and say, hey, I know your lease is coming up, maybe your renewal's a little high, maybe you weren't as satisfied as you thought you would be. Come check us out again and let's see what you think about moving here now. So that's kind of a neat little thing that I don't think any of us have really tried recently, but the policy is kind of pushing that idea that we can find them in one site, we can pull our old reports and find who was looking 11 months ago and know that these people live at our competitors' properties and they have leases that are coming up for expiration right around now. They're probably going to be either they love it there and they're going to renew, or they're on the fence and we might be able to pull them our way.
Just think about 50% of our tenants move out. So 50% of the prospects that didn't choose you are going to be looking to move again. So it's, as Kenny said, it's kind of, yeah, it's a little more work, but that's the difference between someone who's going to be, who's going to be renting, who's going to do 25 or 30% closing ratio to get to the 35-40%. Here's a prospect that, all you have to do is a little more work and you can get them. You can get more traffic, you get more closing ratios.
Is that something that we can do, and I know it's a little bit informal, do that e-blast too?
I think, you have to find that balance between, if it's an e-blast, and you're just sending out email, people are just going to delete.
Okay.
As opposed to, it's like, like Kenny said, you can do a little more personalized. Hey, it was nice to meet you last year. I'm not sure if you still, how you like your living, but I'd like to move here. There's something personalized, someone's going to be more likely to read it. If there's something in the subject line that makes sense, as opposed to, Queen Anne's Gate Apartments, as opposed to, hey, sorry we didn't rent here last year.
Okay.
I think anytime you make something more personal, someone's more likely to read it, as opposed to, when I just get this random email from, Macy's, I'm just going to read it.
So I actually didn't bring this up before I started talking about this whole thing, but this obviously up on CJ Connect, we all know what it looks like everything else that's on CJ Connect. But the search function on CJ Connect has kind of been overlooked or forgotten about a lot, and I know it can be difficult to find things because there's so much content on there. But I know that, for example, the other day Justin was looking for something about demographics. He didn't know if it was in management, leasing, where you find it, and the front page has this search bar on it for that very reason. There are a lot of places that something might be that you might not think to look for it. I'm doing my best to organize it in a usable fashion, but if it's just not where you're looking, the search bar is immensely useful. So Justin was searching for something to do with demographics. So if you go here and you search for demographics, you're going to get the result you're looking for. I mean, he was looking for this report in particular, the flood demographics procedure. So if you are trying to find something on CJ Connect, if it's a document, if it's a procedure, anything like that, and you're having difficulty, the search for documents button is always there. Every time I do it, I do try to remind everybody that if you don't get what you're looking for in your results, and then you try to search again in that bar that's over here, it's kind of cut off by the screen, there's another search bar here, it doesn't work. So if you're ever searching for something and it doesn't come up with the results that you want, you have to actually go back to the main page and use this search bar again. Don't ask me why the secondary search bar doesn't yield any results, but you can search the same thing in both, and you'll get an answer for the first one, and then blank results for the second one. So, just kind of a reminder that that search bar is there to help you guys find stuff that you might be looking for. Angelica was trying to find the fact sheets yesterday, and they're called fact sheets. You just type it in there, and it'll come right up. If you are looking for something that you know is a document, like a Word document, Excel spreadsheet, something that's not a PDF, you can actually search for it based on any words that are inside the document itself. So if you want the fact sheets, but you don't know that they're called fact sheets, you can search for something that you know is going to be inside it, maybe like $300 deposit or something like that, because it's a Word document, and it is searchable in that sense. So kind of a useful tool if you are looking for anything on there. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of it.
And as Kennedy builds upon CJ Connects, if there's something you want, he's not in there, email Kennedy and myself, and Kennedy we'll have to decide whether or not we'll put it up. I mean, he has to prioritize, but
I've got a big long list.
we're definitely looking to get more content on there, and we're trying to, email.
So let me know when you're trying to find something and it turns out it doesn't exist. I'll add it to the list and try to figure out where it goes and priority for everything else that's on the list. Moving on through the prospect follow-up procedure, kind of the first thing that's mentioned here under the phishing for prospect first response is the template e-blast that we had kind of thrown out there that nobody really liked to begin with. On that same line, I kind of wanted to ask, I know that Deb loved Laura, Tracy, and Janet.
I love it. Isn't that the name that you gave me?
The
No,
signature.
no.
That's what I just wanted to ask you about. The three of you have that signature thing, and I was kind of wanting some feedback.
I copy and paste our lead to lease
Yeah.
emails right in that. I love it.
So
It's so much better.
are you sending them to like all of your 2-day follow-ups are all going out in one email at the same time?
I'm sorry, I don't have time to call it.
No, I mean, I think there's a balance, you have to kind of balance.
Yeah, so that's kind of that, and that's the idea behind the template
I'm
e-blast.
like, when
So-
I CC that you taught me, but the best thing though is, and I will say that when you had said do it all in one separate email, because I was doing it in their guest card,
Right.
you can't see the email that you sent them, it is very difficult to do it that way unless you have 2 computer screens. Because I open up the guest card, type in what I did, open up the next guest card, type it in, type what I did on one computer screen. You have to shrink it
So
down,
you can have
bring
one
it
side
up,
on
shrink
one
it down,
screen.
bring it up.
and every email,
It's
yeah.
very difficult, but it is so easy with 2 screens. I've done it 5 times. So everyone should know that's just screens.
And if it works, we can do that. That's one of the reasons why we have these meetings.
You might want to add
So that's great news that that's working well, and actually we have a couple ideas of how to make it even easier. It kind of just popped in my head yesterday, so we're going to test some new stuff with that, and hopefully it'll work even easier. You won't have to copy and paste and do all stuff around. So Tracy was saying that she has her standard for each of these sets of follow-ups, 24 hours, 3 days, 1 week, everything. She's got in a Word document. Does everybody have standards for those things? Or you kind of just like on the cuff emailing out, or what are you guys doing at Queen Anne's? Are they standardized emails that you send out?
A little bit, but not really. I am the worst at follow-ups, very inconsistent. You will get an email that says Queen Anne's date, I'm sure you have. And then it just says, hi, how are you? Do you want a tour? Or how's your search going? Do you have some special?
So it's a more personalized one. It's not, you're not copying and pasting from anywhere. You're actually typing this email to somebody.
I do some copy and paste.
So I think it's good to copy and paste these things because you don't want to forget to tell your website. You don't want to forget to tell them. There is certain information that everyone's going to want. So it's very good to do a.
It depends on the lead, because you get leads that actually have information where you can personalize it, and you can say, yada, yada, 2-bedroom townhouse, we have it. We get a lot of leads that don't say anything. They don't say what they want, it can say Kennedy, nothing.
Nothing.
It's gonna go to automatic studio default, and it's gonna go to 1/1900, which I love from level 1. So they're gonna get copies,
Yeah, any side.
kind of like, call me, you know.
Cool. So that's kind of what's going on here. The template e-blast is your standard copy paste if you wanted to use it. Deb's using it for her follow-ups. It's there if you wanted something to copy paste. It's an option, but otherwise, I'm sure what you're doing is getting there as long as we're hitting them with follow-ups and they're getting the information on that time. I think it works well. Same with appointment confirmation and missed appointment follow-ups, the day before, the day after, depending on whether they came in or not. But really, that's kind of all there is about trying to get them to come in once they start like an active lead. After they come in, I think probably the most important part to me on that section is that you include your video tour in your emails like after they come in, and you're going to follow up with them again. We have the YouTube videos that we can use, and some site like Tom makes a million of them, and Queen Anne's probably has 8 or 10 videos up there. If you have one from the floor plan that these people are looking at, put it in the email to them. Say, hey, I'm glad you came in. Remember, this is the unit we looked at. If your husband wants to see it, just show him this video, something like that. It's an easy win to have that follow-up tour in the email. So I think that's kind of the highlight of the after the tour section. And that last section there is just for the template e-blast. If your site doesn't have them, you can open them up. They're all saved in CJ Connect. But yeah, I think that's it for me. There's also video on CJ Connect. It's linked through the applying prospect section. And it's a tutorial on how to use one site. Most of you know how to use one site. You can get through your daily job. It's a tutorial.